Right, OK, Emma Wolf and Andy Jones are now joining us to go through the rest of the newspapers. So where would we like to start? I think, Emma, you've got a good one there, haven't you?
Yeah, well, this is in the Times. This is about Albanian smugglers who've been literally advertising small boat crossings on TikTok, pretty much like a package deal. So small boat crossings to the UK. They're offering your travel, private rented accommodation, a pick-up when you arrive in Dover, and then you're transferred to private rented accommodation and a job, a cash-in-hand job on the black market. This is on TikTok, being advertised just like a holiday commercial. It is really astonishing. You can get a deal for around £2,500. They're sort of marketing this to fellow Albanians. And it really, to me, begs the question, beggars belief, why are the government not just going on TikTok, following up these holiday deals, talking to the people, I don't know, booking themselves a holiday and arresting them?
But is it difficult, because it is a social media organisation, that they are simply refusing to give up this data?
No, because obviously these are approaching complete strangers, people in the street who are looking to enter Britain illegally. And surely, as Emma said, you would send a task force, say, oh, you pretend to be a person that wants to get into the country, tap up one of these guys. The moment they present you with, this is how you get on a boat, you say, right, you're people smuggling, locked up, whatever country they're in, it's an arrestable offence. It's an arrestable offence right the way across Europe. This is open, it's brazen, it's laughing in our face. We talk about smash the gangs. All these civil servants are working from home. They're not even on social media. We're not even linking up with national crime agents and saying, stop these guys. And it's so open and illicit, it's ridiculous. 35,000 people came across the channel last year. Most of them not refugees. There's not any refugees in Albania. There's not a war zone there. And these are people that are coming in, not because of our liberal values, but because of our liberal economy. And as Emma said, they're promising not only get into Britain, but they're saying, we'll set you up with a flat when you get here and cheap black market work. It's a whole package. It's not just entry, it's a lifestyle.
And the crazy thing is, they're literally telling fellow Albanians, you know what, take advantage of the travel chaos. They've got messy and busy airports in the UK. We will give you stolen passports and you can travel across the UK and travel across Europe and enter the UK.
And the fact this is all happening
So we are seen
TikTok
as a soft target. We are seen as a soft target. Accommodation and benefits and all sorts of things will be provided once you get here.
And the fact it's happening on TikTok suggests it's young people they're trying to attract.
Yeah, young men.
Young men,
yes,
basically,
young men.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And they can earn a lot more. They can do a couple of months here. They can earn a lot more than they will in Albania. That's the truth. But as Andy said, they're not fleeing a war zone. They're not fleeing. They're not in danger of their lives. They're coming here for economic reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I worked frontline asylum seeker provision in Birmingham around 20 years ago for 2 years. I've also reported on refugee camps in Europe and Africa. And I can tell you that most people are coming here for our liberal economy, not our liberal values. Not fitting. If you arrive, once you get access, you get a free housing, you get free healthcare, you get free everything. Even if the black market job you get pays very, very little, everything you get is cash in hand. The lifestyle we're offering, the combination of benefits, the ease of access, the low prosecution rate, the low return rate have created a ridiculous cocktail where we're allowing absolutely anybody in. It's not about skilled migration, it's low, unskilled migration. And very often people are not fleeing persecution, they're fleeing prosecution. We're taking in people who are very often fleeing prosecution in their home countries and they're carrying out these crimes here. We're an open border, we're a soft touch, and successive governments, Labour and Conservative, have done absolutely nothing about it.
We are a soft touch, and it's a very attractive option. Travel, a flat when you get here, and a job.
I'm almost tempted to apply myself, to be honest with you. Andy, why are politicians not accepting this? Why are they not listening to what you have just said, which a lot of people, certainly many people out there watching and listening today, accept? Why don't politicians accept this?
In terms of, the problems are multi-layered. First of all, stopping people coming into the country. We do almost absolutely nothing about it. We are blessed being an island nation. We could seal our border, we could put the Navy in the channel, we could do all sorts of stuff to stop people. First of all, we do almost nothing about stopping. Secondly, when people arrive, and you see this in test cases, the burden of proof is on the government to prove that you are not who you say you are. And when people throw away all of their documents, or they have barely passable stories, it is very difficult to prove and say, Dawn, you are not from Somalia. Do you know what I mean? As ridiculous as that sounds. There's a case in the paper this week of an Afghan family, supposedly Afghan Sikh family, who are living in a £600,000 house in central London, and they said they're Sikhs in Afghanistan and they're being tortured and persecuted. But there are only 12 Sikhs listed as living in Afghanistan, and they're not one of those 12. And also, when they arrive, they don't speak any Afghan languages; they only speak Punjabi. And so we've got a Punjabi translator for these people. They don't speak any Afghanistan languages. They don't know anything about Afghan geography or anything. And yet, the burden of proof is to prove that you are not who you say you are. And it is legally in court very difficult to prove who you are.
But surely, regardless of what government you are, Conservative, Labour, Reform, whatever, it's a vote winner just to do something about it. And yet for successive decades now almost, nothing appears to have been done that's of any consequence.
Well, we know it's a vote winner because look at the surge of reform. Look at, look at the repeated mantra from Keir Starmer about smashing their boats, smashing their gangs, which he's done absolutely nothing on. You know, he made a big hoo-ha. I think he held a press conference about finding some guy who had supplied some bit of equipment for dinghies. That was about as much action as we've seen. And once people are here, they need to be looked after. You do give them.
Yeah.
You can't just not help people. You can't not give them healthcare and things. But then deporting people, claiming back the money for any of this stuff, it seems to be virtually impossible.
OK, well, we've talked about people getting here. Now let's talk about people trying to get away, Andy. It's your story from the Daily Mail.
Yeah, so Labour's Daily Mail bill, this is Labour's £400 tax hit to your family holiday. It's not quite £400 extra, but it does take the air passenger duty on long-haul flights beyond £400. And so families, this is a Labour measure, will be hit with highest ever tax rates on flights in a multi-billion-pound raid on holidaymakers. So not only is it miserable here, not only is it more expensive here, not only is it more dangerous here than it's been, cost of housing, cost of everything, rising crime. Even when you go away for your 2-week package holiday, they're now hitting you with big fees. And so if you take the family to Disneyland, Florida, long haul, it will now cost you £400 alone in air passenger duty.
Is that per passenger?
That's just a family. So it's a collective. But £400 for a family, huge amount. I mean, that's like taking 3-4 days off your holiday.
But this is so unfair when we've seen, and I know we've talked about COP a lot, but when you see thousands of delegates flying all around the world. Keir Starmer has barely been off a plane in the first 4 or 5 months of his administration. This is so unfair when we know that families maybe have taking the family to Disneyland, maybe 1 or 2 holidays a year, 1 or 2 flights to Spain or to wherever, and to be hit with these kind of levies when actually a lot of people are doing a lot of flying around the world. This is totally unfair.
Yeah, I mean, families are still going to go because we're so desperate. I mean, I know that some people cut back, but some people are so desperate to go on that 2-week break a year, which they absolutely are right to expect, that they will still go. And the sums of money it brings in are fairly small. I mean, this will bring in £2.5 billion by 2030. By 2030, our benefit state alone will be worth £100 billion. And yet I'm not hearing Labour doing much to sort of cut that. There's all this sort of, taxes on farmers.
But it's hitting the poorer people, weaker people, people who are saving up, people who are trying to pay their fuel bills, people who are working hard on farms, getting up at 3 in the morning on bitter, cold winter days. It's hitting the small people, whereas...
I think Labour had a phrase for that, working people, didn't they?
Yeah, yes. I mean, this whole... The stories that we've covered today, it's all about people not working and being given everything, people working their hardest and having everything taken from them. People don't expect a huge amount in Britain, but the streets are more dangerous, cost of living has gone through the roof, our borders are not safe. I do not feel a lot of aspiration or prosperity from this government. It's hitting working people the hardest again and again and again in pursuit of very often what's ideological dogma, net zero, unproven science. I'm a climate change believer, but a lot of what they're investing in is unproven science.
Well, I suppose a lot of Labour's big gamble is whether all these tax hikes are going to improve public services, but of course we don't know the answer to that yet, do we? Thank you both. Yeah. We'll be back with us next hour.
Absolutely. OK, thank you very much for joining us later, but still...